I don't think the college is a perfect institution, but then show me one that is. But I do believe that the college has its collective heart in the right place. What it's trying to be is the voice of general practice, both back to its members, but also to the other institutions surrounding the National Health Service and to the NHS itself. It also tries to represent the population of general practice in the press and so on. But it's a very complex organisation. It is a standard setting body, it's an examining body, it's a lobby group, it's a charity, it's a commercial organisation. All of these things are wrapped into one wrapper. So it struggles to do all of those things equally well. And there are sometimes it does some of those roles better than others. And so what I found myself doing as a trustee of the Royal College of GPs is absolutely supporting its aims, trying to bring my exposure to large organizations, complex organizations all over the world, trying to bring that experience to what is in fact a quite small organization, but a monumentally complex one. I could take you to organizations which are literally 50 times as big as the RCGP, but half as complex. So trying to keep our collective eye on our aims, on the ball, as it were, but on our aims and on our values, proved to be a real challenge. And yet what I did find also was that the college was responsive to well-made arguments, responsive to challenge. But I think that there were a couple of thoughts that I still have that concern me, not just about the college, but about the NHS as well. And that's the extent to which all of these medically related bodies are essentially bureaucratic. They'll never get one person to make a decision if they can find 20 to make the same decision at the same time. It's the world in which committees rule. And I am monumentally concerned about that because A, committees diffuse responsibility, so we don't know who's accountable. B, they obfuscate arguments. They're supposed to tease them apart, but actually what I think they do is hide the core of positions that need to be understood. But the most important thing of all is that a committee has a way of slowing down decision making, which needs to be much, much faster, much more efficient, much slicker, and so on. So I found myself from time to time saying, let's disband this committee completely and put one person in charge, maybe two, of making the decisions in that area. I'll give you an example. I'll give you two examples. So two big themes of the college. One is to look after members' interests. And the second is to have a slick organisation that supports that effort to look after members' interests. So, for example, there will be a focus on what is called the first 5 years of membership, the first 5 years in general practice. Young, idealistic, often quite tired young GPs, because not only have they got a hell of a workload to keep up with now, but they've just come up at the back end of a strong and rigorous, exhaustive training and development program. But now they are fully fledged and they're partners, but they've got quite a strong burden to bear. And so there's a sort of focus in the college on those first 5 years. And then another is, the organisation also needs to run. So there are people looking after finance and IT and so on and so forth. And what I used to try to get people to do was to say, can we identify, please, who is accountable for bringing about change in this area? I've just written a blog for BMJ Leader in which I'm asking exactly the same thing about the health service as a whole. We have an aspiration to bring down 7.5 million waiting list. Who's accountable for that? Is it the Prime Minister? If so, that's a silly thing to do. The Prime Minister can't do it. Is it the Health Secretary? Well, he can't do it either. He's not a medic. He can't do it. Is it the head of the NHS? Is it the CEO of the NHS? Really? I don't know. The point is, I don't know who's accountable for that. Neither does anybody else. And if the method of accountability is the ballot box, that's really inefficient. You only get one go every 4 or 5 years. Or is it a legal case, or a judicial review or a commission of inquiry? All of these are completely crazy as accountability mechanisms. So I want to know who's accountable, who gets a chance to make decisions in that area. If you take, I mean, I've spent 25, 30 years working in the commercial world. And if I were to go to British Airways and ask, who's accountable for the decision to buy Airbus A350 aircraft, it's a multi-billion pound investment. It needs to be safe. They need to work well. They need to make sure that the organization can afford it and so on and so forth. But there will be one or maybe two people who are accountable to the chief executive for getting that decision right. Now, they can call on the expertise of many other people if they choose to do so, but that individual or that small group are accountable for those things. And it's they who need to lose sleep over those decisions. I'm concerned that the lessons that Roy Griffiths suggested in the 1980s, in a letter to Margaret Thatcher, this principle of general management, that it seems again to have become lost in the ether. And so we need to know where accountability sits. So it is a long way from your original spine of the question, tell me about being a trustee of the RCGP. But these are the thoughts which came flooding to me, in contrast to the commercial world where decisions that are taken are just as big, just as complex, but there is clearer accountability there than there is in the world of medicine.
I think you touched on really an important subject.
The situation that I think we get ourselves into, I've often characterized as anyone can say no, but nobody can say yes. In other words, anyone can object. And if there are enough people saying no, 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 then that decision doesn't get taken. But there's no one with the power, authority, to say we are going to do this on my say so. Now, of course, with that should come accountability. You can't just make these decisions in a sense with no consequences. But it seems to me a principle of a mature organization that we can identify whose job it is to make a particular decision, give them the authority to make a particular change happen. They can choose to involve people. They don't need to dominate in order to make those decisions happen. But at least we then know who to monitor, who to ask about progress, who needs empowering to make these decisions. And we can go back in the event that a decision was taken well and recognize and reward, or we can go back and learn if we know that that decision's been taken badly. But the thought that we have to overlay all decisions with large bureaucratic processes reminds me of a poster I once saw on one of my colleagues' walls in Oxford. It was a picture of a tortoise with the caption that read, "Lucky I'm going so slowly because I may be going in the wrong direction."
If you found this video useful, you might want to watch the whole interview here. Click here to watch it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.